Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and in today's video we're going to borrow an idea I got from Chuck Bommarino over at Outside Screwball. His idea of how to mount or mounting a vise to a workbench. In my case, this is my welding table. I don't want to just set it up here on the table and mount it permanently, because there's a good chance it will get in the way. My welding table is 40 inches square, a little over 3 foot square. So it's not the biggest welding table in the world. And occasionally I'll have a piece that needs to go up here on the welding table that I need to hang over the edges. And a vise mounted permanently will get in the way. As a matter of fact, I've got a piece of one of my implements for the tractor that I need to work on that will hang over the table. So again, I'm going to borrow an idea from Chuck Bommarino. And what that is, I've got a piece of receiver here that I'm going to mount on the side of the table under here. It will have some straps welded onto the side of it, and the straps will be bolted into this 6-inch channel. Once that is mounted, let me get the camera down just a little bit. Again, this piece will be mounted in here with straps welded onto the side of it and the straps bolted in through this channel. That'll be kept flush with the outside edge out here. Inside this receiver there'll be an arm that will slide in, and to get the bottom of the vise pretty much flush with the top of the table, I have this 1.5 thick 1.5 by 5-inch square block that will be mounted here, and then the vise will be mounted on the block. This vise is a Craftsman 51861. It's a piece of new old stock I just got my hands on recently and did a little cleanup to it. It's my understanding, and I've been told, that this was the last series of vices sold under the Craftsman name that were made in the USA. Most of the time when you see these big digits on the side of a vise jaw, it's pretty good indication they're made in Asia, most likely in China. But this one actually states made in the USA. And as I said, it's my understanding this was the last series of vices sold under the Craftsman's name, made in the USA. And I also been told that these were made by Columbian Vise Company out of Cleveland, Ohio. So I think the first thing we're going to do is take these little straps, go into the drill press, drill some holes in them, then I'll come back and weld them onto this piece. Alright, I'm around here at the Powermatic drill press now that you saw so much of in the last 2 or 3 videos that I posted to my channel. We're going to drill some holes in these straps. But an observation that I've made over the last couple of weeks of using this drill press is that I probably need to move it to one side of the table. Well, when I set this on the table, I was very particular, OCD, to get it in the center of the table. That's giving me about 2.5 inches on each side over here. That's pretty much worthless. So I think what I'm going to do is shift it to one side, and that'll give me about 5 or 6 inches on one side for such things as the drill index to set on, maybe a little tray to hold chuck key and my work stops and so forth. But right now we're going to drill a few holes. And if you didn't understand in the previous videos what this work stop right here is about, remember, it's nothing but a little piece of round stock with a 1/2 inch boss on it to go in the holes in the table. If I hadn't had that on here, I would have had some way to hold this workpiece, because it would have grabbed and tried to twist. But so far that worked very well, and that piece is a little bit worn, so I'll set it over here to the side drill another one. Alright, I'm going to drill the other two, then I'll bring you back when I get ready to weld these onto the receiver. Alright, I got all the holes drilled, 4 holes drilled. I'm going to turn over to the little small drill press and just deburr those holes. Then I'm going to go back to the welding bench and weld these on. I'm not going to try to video that. It's just, all you see is a bright light. And so I'll show you the finished product, even though I know my welds are going to be super ugly. But we'll be right back. Alright, I was about to start welding those brackets onto this receiver piece, and then it dawned on me I might want to put a locking T-handle on the opposite side of this. So before I weld the brackets over here, I think I'm going to drill a hole big enough to clear or where I can weld a 3/8 inch nut on here as well, and then that way I can put a T-handle in there to lock the vise in place if I need to, which I likely will. So I'm going to drill the same bit, a 1/4 inch pilot hole. Now I think I'll go one size above 3/8 to the, what is that, 25/64. And that way if I don't get it perfectly centered when I weld it, it won't be a big deal. Now this is one I would really expect to grab. Alright, now I'm going to do some welding. I'll bring you right back. Okay, I guess those welds aren't too bad for somebody that only fires up his welder about once every 2 or 3 months. But let's get this set up on the table now. Need to get something with a little better visible graduations. This one's worn out pretty bad. If I moved it any, I'd be messing it up, so I think that's right on the money. Now we'll use a transfer punch for each of the holes in the bracket. Give me a little indicator mark on top of the table so I know where to look for these punches. Whoops. They're in there, but I think this old man needs a flashlight. This side of the tin born is not lit near as well as the other side. Alright, I got the 4 holes laid out. Before I start drilling those, I think I'll carry this outside, give it a good coat of paint, and while it's drying, I'll drill these holes out and also do the work on the plate that will be on here and mounting the vise itself. Alright, I got this little 12 volt DeWalt cordless that I'm going to drill the holes with, and I did go ahead and drill one off camera just to be sure that this thing won't going to kick my butt. But let's go ahead and drill the other 3. That's why I like using these little relatively low power drills in situations like this. If it gets away from you, you can stall it. Big, heavier drills, if it gets away from you, you're going to get hurt. All right, got those 4 holes drilled. I think now it's time to work on these holes, then the holes to mount this here with, and then the 4 holes to mount the vise to this. So we'll go back over to the, I think we're going to do this on the mill because the spacing, I want the spacing on this to be pretty precise. Ordinarily, I would use something like a socket head cap screw and countersink it in into this piece, let it go all the way through. But I don't have any socket head cap screws that long, and don't know about you guys, but we have a Fastenal store close by. During the pandemic, it was closed to the public for only about an hour, maybe 2 hours a day. Now they've got a sign out front that says on account and contractor sales only. So I guess that cuts me out from buying fasteners from Fastenal. But what I'm going to do is, like I say, I want these holes pretty much precision the distance. I'm going to bolt up through the bottom. Clearance holes in this piece, but in this they'll be it'll be threaded. Then there'll be a blind hole threaded up into this block. So let's go over to the mill and lay that out. All right, folks, sorry about the audio. I failed to turn the microphone on, but all I did was find the edge of this, move over a ½ inch from that, then found the center on the y-axis, drilled the first hole 3/8 of an inch, moved over 4 inches, and drilled the second hole. What I'm going to do now is deburr this piece, but we'll meet back over at the workbench, excuse me, and lay out the plate that goes between this and the vise. I will show you one more thing on this piece while I'm here. To make this piece fit up in that receiver had a weld joint in it. I simply put this in the vise, and the weld joint was not in the center, but I located, marked it at one end of about where it would be, and then put me a that looks like about a 3/8 mill track through that for this to slide over that weld joint. I did the same thing. If you watch my series on building my 2x72 belt grinder, I did the same thing to make the tubing slide together in it. All right, over here at the workbench, I got the spacer block set here, and I've got the vise centered up on it. And again, I'm going to use a transfer punch. This is one out of a set that fits these holes, and I'm just going to tap them enough to give me a witness under there. These transfer punches, I struck them a little harder than I should have over on the welding table. They're not meant to give you a starting point to drill. They're just meant to give you a witness mark to come back later with a center punch and punch. And Those are kind of light, so I'm going to take my Sharpie. Now, when I set the vise over, I should be able to easily spot those holes. Alright, I got the 4 holes in here. The holes that will be threaded to match this, we can lay those out on the mill. So let's turn back to the mill now. I get asked a lot in comments, or not a lot, but occasionally get asked in the comments on other videos what these are on my mill vise. I think all of you that's got a mill vise know and understand that you can take these jaws off and move them to the outside for a wide piece that's or a piece that's too wide to fit in your normal jaw opening. This one will open 4 inches. But I made these in a earlier video, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago, and they stay on permanent. And the way they work, in that video too, I showed making a couple of flats that are same height as what sticks up on these jaws. That's just helps the piece to lay flat, and these holes are too close to put it in for one setup. But I'll take a 1, 2, 3 block and just use that as a wedge. And then you got a vise that holds pieces that are much larger than your normal vise jaws. Alright, these are going to be 3/8 bolts as well to hold the vise onto this spacer block. And these holes, of course, will go all the way through. This is an 1.5 inch block, which will bring the vise up almost, the bottom of the vise almost level with the table. Alright, now I'm going to find this edge over here, move over a 1/2 inch, find the center on this axis, drill and tap a 3/8/16 hole, move over exactly 4 inches, and drill and tap another 3/8/16. Alright, this block is 1.5 inches thick. So I'm going to come down about 1.25, I think. It'll be a blind hole, but I want it plenty deep enough for the threads. So I'm going to zero out my DRO right there. We'll drill this one, move over 4 inches, drill that one, tap it with the taper tap, then the bottom tap, come back to 0, and do the same thing here. That was a taper tap. Now we'll go in with a bottom tap. Alright, I think we're done with all the pieces now. I'm going to deburr this one. Actually going to carry it over, well, deburr it, carry it to the parts washer, get all this WD-40, cutting oil and all, vacuum off of it. Give it a good coat of paint. Excuse me. Then I'll, on this piece right here, I'm going to clean it up as well and paint just the last 5 inches or so of it, that part that'll stick out. This will not be painted because it's a pretty slim, pretty tight fit into the receiver now, but it'll get plenty of oil on it. So it'll only be a split second to you guys, but it'll probably be the next day when I put all these pieces together, giving paint plenty of time to dry. Okay, it's the next morning and paint has had time to cure overnight, so let's get this project put together, pieces put together, and a quick recap. I'm going to start by mounting the receiver, if my holes line up. And I looked under here and didn't spot any wasp nest. Lots of spider webs, but didn't see any wasp nest. All right, folks, there it is. I think for the most part, this vise is going to remain in this position, but as I said at the beginning of the video, if I've ever got anything that needs to hang over the edge of the table, especially on this edge, I can simply remove the vise and put it down here on the shelf. I can't put it on the shelf right now because there's too much stuff under there. So off camera, what I'm going to do is clean off this bottom shelf. When I was doing the welding, I realized just how dirty my lens was on the welding helmet. So I'll clean all that up, get this organized. But I hope you got a little enjoyment out of this video. Again, I thank Chuck Bomarino for the idea of the receiver, like you would have a receiver hitch to mount and dismount the vise. So you guys take care, and I'll see you on the next video.